Hey traders, John Howell here. Today, is there a bit of an exhaustion gap happening in the markets right now when it comes to the stock market? Something really interesting happening in the stock market right now, guys, and also gold and silver as well too. Plus, also, I want to share with you a bit of a story that happened yesterday. I was out yesterday with a mate. We're talking about actually the trading, and he was so surprised about how I personally trade. And I want to share some things with you that may help you with your trading. So let's get straight into it, guys. Don't place a trade based on what you'll see in this video because there is no guarantees of making a profit in the market. It takes you a long time to become a good trader. So this video here is just to educate you to become a much better trader. Alrighty traders, before we get straight into it, make sure you, that first link in the description there, guys, I'm running a webinar today where I'm going to be teaching you my trading system and all the details to how I personally trade the markets, the scans I use, the type of instruments that I use, the actual pattern that I use. And all that sort of stuff as well too. So, and for me, guys, I personally only trade 30 minutes a day. That's all I trade. And I'll get to more about that and when it comes to my mate and his story. But again, guys, all that first link in the description there, guys, click on that. Go join my next webinar and I'll teach you all the details to that. So let's get into the actual market updates. And I want to share then I want to share a story with you when it comes to my mate, because I think it's really interesting, guys, how people trade these markets and how we think we need to trade these markets. Okay, so. Firstly, there's three types of gaps that generally forms in the markets. There's breakaway gaps. Now, a breakaway gap is like, for example, let's actually do this here. So a breakaway gap is like I'm in this trade. There's a trade that I'm in right now, and I did this. Yeah, so I'll show you this here. So this is an actual trade that I'm in right now. I've been short this particular stock here, and the reason why I'm bringing this up here is not to show you the trade that I'm in, right? I'm actually in 3 different trades right now. So I'm in this trade here. Really, I'm still in this trade as I speak right now, and very, very, very nice profit. I've used options with this particular trade, so it's really, really, really nice profit. And we'll see what else it's got when it comes to this particular trade here. And then also last week when the Friday closed for the US stock market, I also got into 2 new trades. So I'm in 2 new trades right now, and then I'm also in this trade. I've been in this trade ever since we got this breakaway. So I've been short this particular stock here. Anyway. The purpose of me bringing this one particular trade here is that this trade I'm in right now is because I wanted to share with you like what's called breakaway gaps. And what tends to happen a lot of the times is that, especially when the market doesn't do anything for quite some time, like as you can see, right, as we get this sort of not really much going on through here, and if I clone that, and as you can see, right, we're just doing pretty much nothing for a long time through here. And now what do we get? We got a breakdown, but we got the breakdown, and as you look, see this little gap here. That's actually what's called a breakaway gap. And a breakaway gap is more like, okay, we've been doing nothing for quite some time, and a little bit of a gap and a large bar down shows you that's actually now a breakaway gap, right? And the breakaway simply means now it's breaking away from doing nothing, and now we're getting ready to start a nice trend. So again, I didn't use the gap. I don't have a gap in my trading system. I actually had a trading setup here. And again, in that webinar, guys, I'll teach you the trading setup. I'm not going to walk through the details here, but you'll be able to see all the details to exactly what sort of pattern I use to trade this, and then also how I use the scans to help me find these trades. So anyway, so the purpose of me bringing this up here is to show you that there's a bit of a breakaway gap. Now, if I go back to the Dow Jones here for a minute, and all the indices, you'll notice that we've been going up for quite some time. So what can happen is that there's 3 types of gaps. There's a breakaway gap, which tends to happen. So we may get doing nothing for a while, and then we get a bit of a gap, and we do something like that, and we go up, like this, right? So this is what's called a breakaway gap. Then what we can get sometimes as well too in the middle is more like a continuation gap. So this is more like a breakaway, so breakaway gap, continuation gap, and then when the market continues up from there, then at the sometimes after a period of time, then we can get what's called exhaustion gaps, where it's been going up for a long time, and then we can get exhaustion gaps. So we never know exactly what the gap is going to be. This is just sort of speculating of what it's going to be, but we can see the Dow Jones has been going up for quite some time, and now we're getting a bit of an exhaustion gap from here. The market is a lot stronger than I originally thought, meaning I would have thought that we'd get a bit of a pullback here by now. But traders, we know that, right? If you've been around the markets more than a couple of years, you know the market's not just going to keep going up and up and up, and without any sort of pullback, right? So we know that, right? I mean, if you don't know that, then just don't listen to the bumblebees on YouTube. Yeah, yes, I'm one of those bumblebees. Right, what you want to do, right, is you want to just look at the way that if you squeeze your charts up and look at the facts about how markets work, right? What do? They swing, right? They go up, they go down, they go up, they go down. They never just do. Look at this move here, right? Whenever do you just get that move without some sort of a good pullback? It just doesn't happen, right? So we just look at the facts. Don't listen to your thoughts and your fears, or you might be long right now with some call options in the stock market, saying, "I hope it's going to keep going up." And John, you don't understand. I listened to David Hunter, and David Hunter said we're going to 6,000 on the S&P, and then this is the melt up phase. It could be right? But don't take a trade based off that, guys, right? Definitely not. So the purpose of bringing this up is this actually could be an exhaustion gap. Now, what would I be looking out for when it comes to this here? For me personally, I'll be looking for this here right now. So I'll be looking at, see that level through there? So that'll be the level through there. If we hold here and then we start to drop down below this level, that would show me this whole thing here is one big massive exhaustion gap in the markets, right? One big massive exhaustion gap in the markets. That's what I'll be seeing through there when it comes to this particular setup through here. Looking at the Nasdaq as well too, and the Nasdaq is sort of the same thing, but we've been getting some really nice sort of stair-stepping motions through here. Once again, is this like a bit of a double top and exhaustion gap through there? The Nasdaq hasn't been going up as vertical. The Nasdaq's been getting some really nice stair-stepping phases, so not as much as the Dow. The Dow Jones is pretty much just straight up. And if we go to the S&P 500, S&P 500, same sort of thing, right? Straight up, and we've got a bit of a gap through here. So what happens through here? So this could be a false breakout with an exhaustion gap. So false breakout, meaning we've got this breakout to the upside. So is this going to be a false breakout? And again, we've got this gap through here. So if we do end up getting something like this happening in the market, come down through here and then come down through here, then that would tell me what? We are now at the top, guys. We are now at the top, and that 5 to 10% correction is now underway. Now, again, there's no guarantees of doing that, right? So, as you know, this market's very, very strong. So, it could do that, and then suddenly do something like this, then do something like this on you, right? But looking at where we are at the markets right now, there's a bit of a gap here, a bit of a gap up. People are really euphoric right now. People, especially Nvidia, right? People are jumping all over Nvidia, and it's like, oh man, I miss Nvidia. It's such a big thing, right? Such a big thing not to let your FOMO get involved with these markets, and it's just for me personally, guys. Like, I've been trading the markets now for 20 years, and when you see the markets now for 20 years, it's just like, oh, you realize whenever you start to get your emotions involved with things, it never works out, right? It just never ever works out. And it's actually a bit of a story. I was talking with my mate yesterday. So anyway, so we're doing that through there, and we actually so that's actually what I'm seeing through there, guys. If we do get something like this happening over the next course of the next couple of next couple of days, then we're probably likely to see that out of the stock market. We're likely to see that good pullback through there. So a good 5 to 10% correction, guys. We know, again, firstly, traders, we know that's coming, right? And if you don't know that's coming, then again, just see what I've actually even said on this video. Don't listen to me, right? I'm just a bumblebee. I'm just a guy on YouTube that does really well from trading, but look at the facts of how markets work, right? We never just continue just going straight up, right? We eventually going through a bit of a pullback, bit of a swings in the markets, and that's going to happen. We just don't know when, right? So trying to short the market when it's very, very strong like this is very, very risky. But just you don't have to trade something because you think it's going to happen, right? Just because you think the market's going to drop down, you never just trade that. But having the awareness that that's coming, you don't know when, gives you a bit of a leverage, gives you a bit of power, right? So, okay, then we don't know when it's coming, but it is coming, and having that awareness, so when it actually does start to happen, you're like, I've been waiting for you, and it takes a bit of a confusion out of the markets, right? So if we did get that 5 to 10% correction, so we're just talking about, say, the S&P getting down towards the 4,600 level, right? 4,600 on the S&P 500. We're talking about also the Dow Jones getting down towards possibly 3,600. So there's definitely going to be a very, very, very sharp pullback through here, guys. I really, really, really see that. And again, traders, I know I'm going to repeat myself here, but some people think that the market's not going to do that. You don't understand, John. It's just going to keep going up and never. It's like, okay. Well, the reality of these markets is that we're eventually going to have and the more we stretch, right? The more we stretch. One thing I've learned about the markets is this, right? Check this out. So that we can go up, and so if we go up a little bit there, yeah, we can get like that, or we can get this, right? Or we can do this, or we can go up, and then we can go sideways, and we get going again. But what tends to happen sometimes is this. All right, check this out. What can happen sometimes is that we'll get the stretch and a little pullback, and we'll stretch again. All right, that's what the market. Trying to get over that hump, right? So that's what the market does, right? So this is what the market's doing through here, right? Really sort of stretching to the markets here, really stretching to the upside. So the really important thing here is what? The really important thing is that we know we're going to get a pullback here. We know we're going to get, and our pullback, guys, is just a move against the underlying trend, right? We know the trend is up right now, and it's still up right now, and it still can be up for a week from now. But we know inevitably that the longer it stretches, the harder the actual pullback is going to be. We see this all the time. And so now I say pullback because generally what's likely to happen is we're likely to get from the start of this move, which could be down through here to here. And if you look at, and then you look at say a 50 to 60% level, that whole 50 to 60% level is around about there, right? We get something like here, 50 to 60% level all through here. That's probably what we're likely to see in the markets from there. So do not try to jump in front of this train, guys. For me personally, I see this market going down, but I don't trade that, right? What do I trade? I trade my setup. Why do I trade my setup? Because when I do get into really good trades, things like, why would I want to try to predict the top in the markets when I can just have a really nice trade like car, right? It's like the stock market's going up, but I'm making a really nice profit on a trade going short. So the purpose of me telling you that, guys, is that once you have a good trading system, you don't really care about what the index is doing. I do the indices because it's a market update for you guys. But when you have a really good trading system, even though the stock market's really bullish and we're making all-time new highs, I'm making a really nice profit on a trade actually going down on the downside, right? So therefore, guys, I've just learned that whenever my trading setup does confirm in the markets, then that's when I'm probably likely to start to, whenever there's, I take it regardless of what the indices are doing from there. Let's go look at gold from here. And gold's been one of those markets, guys, that I do see, we're probably likely to see some really, really, really good movement out of gold soon. So let's actually bring up this weekly chart here. Check out this here. So check out this weekly chart. I'm watching this weekly chart here, guys, because this could be a bit of a springboard soon. Really, really, really a bit of a springboard. And I say springboard in the markets because like I see what's going on here. Check this out, right? So if we have a look at this here, we actually had a really slight sort of, that was that whole level through there. Actually, you know what? Let's delete you again. And let's actually go to horizontal line. And let me show you this here, right? So what do we have through here, right? We have this level through here, right? So somewhere like that. And we could see the reason why I drew that line through there is because even if maybe even slightly bit higher, is because you've got a lot of wicks through here, guys. A lot of wicks. Now this is a weekly chart on gold. Weekly chart on gold. So we had this high point up here and then had a bit of a wick point through here. Look at this here. We actually had a lot of problems closing above it through there, didn't we? Now look what's happening right now. The really interesting point is this. Check this out. This is where it gets pretty cool. Okay, so this is where the market had a hard time closing above it at those levels. Same through there. And now look what's happening now. Now we're having a hard time, closing below it. You see it through there? Pretty cool, right? Pretty cool. I think so as well too. Right, so we're looking at that through there, okay? And so the big thing for me, guys, is this, right? So we see this move up, and then we see this overall pullback. So what's happening right now, guys, is that we're getting this pullback, but having all these major resistance points, this could be a bit of a nice strong support. And if we do start to get something like that, then the move could be quite big, right? Quite big. And so potentially maybe, as the stock market starts to go through its 10% correction in the market, And then we start to get the pessimism in the market and so on and so forth, and people start to freak out and so on and so forth. You just see it every year, right? It's through experience you just learn to see this stuff here. So you get what's actually going on here, right? So as that's happening, maybe and potentially gold is getting ready to have that breakout. And if we do get that strong breakout, then gold could be getting ready for a big move to the upside. And I'm really watching gold because I think there's going to be a good trading opportunity from gold perspective. Now, the big thing that I'm watching for is, let's actually sink in layout. That's that level through there. But I also have a very short-term level all through here as well too. So if I open up my charts now, remember that's that weekly level through there. But then we also have this daily level through. Let's go look through here. Right, so this is the daily level through here. Yeah, this is see that daily level? See, this daily, right? Resistance all through here, resistance, resistance. And you can see even so 1, 2, 3, we try to break above through here. And we had this little resistance all through here as well too. See that through there? And now we're actually coming back down and find a little bit of a support through here. So if I zoom my charts back in now, let's go right back in. Right, if we do start we've got a little bit of a breakdown. This could be like a little short-term little false breakout before we see like a bit of a mock charge out of it. So if we do get something like this happening with gold, like we need a real strong move through the upside like that. We get something like that happening with gold, then that to me, guys, says that gold's now getting ready to take on some serious price action. And I have at least a 2,500, potentially a 3,000 target on gold. So gold's one of those markets, guys, that not many people are talking about, right? Not many people are talking about it. So, but I think gold is going to be one of those markets, guys, that really starts to make some headway when it comes from that there. So really interesting, guys. We're looking at that through there. Let's go look at the good old silver. And I really like silver. All right, check this out. Check this out. So silver it's one of those, I think, patient money is going to patience in silver. And people that are investing in silver right now, people like, John, yes, I understand patience, but it's been 5,000 years. Come on, John. I get it, right? But look what's happening here with silver, right? Look at the silver here. So really tightly squeezing up through there. And you can see what we're just sort of going through here, going through these processes and these emotions through here, right? And not really doing much. But I do believe if gold starts to break out, then maybe silver's going to start to break out. And knowing that we're in this massive triangle pattern, really interesting, right? Really interesting when it comes down to the markets here, right? And see what's going on here. So silver could be getting ready to break out as well too. So overall, all in all, guys, we're starting to see the stock market potentially getting that exhaustion gap. If it does, we will know over the next couple of days whether it's going to be an exhaustion gap. If it is, then we're probably likely to start to see the markets here. So the dangers in the markets right now are the exhaustion gaps and false breakouts in the actual stock market. But the flip side is different when it comes to the gold market, right? The gold market is very different in that level through there. And it's very different in a way where we actually could be now breaking out and potentially finding a bit of support right now before we see a move to the upside. So there's a bit of technical analysis for you guys. If that's what you want to, if that's what you came here for, then that's it for there. But for you guys that want to stick around and listen to a story that I want to share with you, I had a conversation with a mate of mine yesterday, then I want to share this with you. Okay. So yesterday I was on a boat, right? I was on a boat I live in Sydney myself, okay? And so I live in Sydney, and we were on a private boat on Darling Harbour, right? So underneath the Harbour Bridge, going past there, it was me and a group of my mates, and we're on the boat, and we're going out to Darling Harbour, going out to a place where we did swimming and all that sort of stuff. It was a really good time. Anyway, and that was yesterday afternoon. Beautiful day as well too. Beautiful day. So we're on the private yacht, going out. It's just me and a group of my friends on the boat. Amazing time. So anyway, and then as we stopped and we got to our location to where we got the inflatable toys out and we're swimming around and so on and so forth. The really big thing, guys, is that when we're swimming around at that time, I was actually talking to my mate, and my mate's been trading for 2 years, right? I've been trading for 20 years. So I guess that's where you sort of, once you sort of get it, you sort of get it, right? You know you don't have to worry about it ever again. It's just like, oh, I'm starting to get it. I'm starting to see it now. And it's really interesting when it comes down to the trading itself. So anyway, so the thing I was talking to him about, he's like, yeah, John, like this is what I'm doing. And he said, I'm trading the patterns and so on and so forth. And he's like, John, how many patterns do you trade? I'm like, just one. He goes, just one pattern. Now he trades the Forex market. And he only has a small trading account. And so what he's trying to do is he's trying to trade all these different patterns. I guess it's like double tops and double bottoms and heads and shoulders and weds and triangle patterns and flag patterns and inverted flag patterns and false breakout patterns. And then he's got divergence setups. And I'm laughing, guys, because when you join my webinar, that first link in the description again, good chance to plug that webinar, right? So go check it out, guys. I know you're going to love it. So anyway, you'll be able to see that I really just focus on one type of pattern. Now I do have more of an advanced, but I do have an advanced type of setup that I look for. So what you learn on that webinar is what's called my foundations, and then I have an advanced type of setup. But the advanced setup that I look for is still based on that setup, the type of setup that I'm actually looking for. So it's not like I'm looking for 10 different types of trades every single day. I really only look for one type of pattern every single day. And it's really that simple. It's nothing. And he looked at me, he goes, what? Just one pattern? I'm like, yeah, just one pattern. And he couldn't believe it. He's like, oh my goodness. And I said to him that, over the last 20 years of trading the markets, I said, I've made some really stupid, dumbass mistakes, really big dumbass mistakes. And it's caused me to pull my hair out, lose sleep, wanting to quit trading, wanting to give up, especially my first 5 years. Again, I'm not going to go into the full story here because we're getting on now with this training here for YouTube. But again, on my actual webinar, you'll see I've got 3 secrets on that webinar. And secret number 1, you're going to learn more about all the really dumbass shit mistake that I made that almost sent me bankrupt. And you'll hear that story on the webinar. And the whole thing about that is, when it comes down to my trading, is that I said to him that if we want to become good at trading long term in the markets, I said one of the things that I've had to learn to do is just have this sort of approach of, okay, having confidence in the pattern that we're actually looking for and the type of setup we're looking for. But then also having the ability to, there's that side of things, but then there's also the side of things of, how do I cut my losses short? How do I how do I let my profits run? Stuff like that, right? And so when I was talking to him, he was so like just one pattern. And I think because he still has this myth, right? The myth of more trades equals more income. And in fact, not only talking about my mate who I was swimming with yesterday on Darling Harbour. Now, no, guys, I wasn't swimming actually in Darling Harbour, by the way. I'm just going to put a caveat on this one here. People are going to say, John, the sharks, right? No, what happened is the yacht that I was on yesterday with me and my mates. We actually went out to a place to where it's very, very shallow, right? And so you can actually see the ground and stuff like that, and there's really no sharks there and so forth. There's not even fish there. So that's where we're swimming around, right? So just you guys thinking, John, you're swimming in Darling Harbour with sharks. My kids were there yesterday as well too, and even my daughter, she was like, John, what about the sharks? So anyway, if you guys know, it's like, no, there was no sharks. It's all good, right? I'm here safe. So anyway, so I was not only was my mate saying that, but I also had a conversation with someone last week on the phone, and I was speaking to them, and for some reason they were losing a lot of money, and I was trying to help them on the phone, right? They were losing a lot of money, and I said, and I said, do you know that this entire year I've only maybe taken, like, how many trades have I taken this year? Like maybe only 4 or 5, maybe 6 in total this year so far. It's just like, you've only taken 4 or 5, maybe 6 trades this entire year so far. Like, and she thinks that, because you've only taken a small amount of trades, that equals small income, right? She thinks that. And I'm trying to, and maybe you think that too, right? Maybe you need a lot of trades, because what she's thinking is that I need a lot of trades to make a lot of money. But one thing that I've learned out of my trading is that if I look back over my trading, the bulk of my incomes comes from those trades that have big moves, right? So we can really maximize those trades here. So for example, if I go back to that car trade, my big results come from trades like this that have the potential of making a really nice move. Now, it's already made a really nice move, and my options are up quite nicely still to this day. So we'll see what actually happens, but this still could actually have quite a ways to go. I don't know. It could be finishing now. So I'm not recommending getting this trade. I could be getting out of this trade tomorrow, right? But the purpose of me saying this is when it comes down to these markets here is that, I was saying to her that it's not necessarily the amount of trades that you take, but it's more like the quality of trades you take, right? And if you can start to really bulk it up there where you can start to get some trades that have the chance of making big moves, but also having the tools and the strategies to maximize those profits, meaning let your profits run. But then also when you are in trades, as soon as those trades are not working, you cut your losses short, right? And there's a bit of an art form behind that. I'm pretty sure you guys know that, right? There's a bit of an art form behind that. I'm not going to say that that's actually easy. It's not, right? There's a bit of an emotional balance that actually goes into this trading thing, right? You know yourself. So like for me, I've learned that it's not only finding good trading setups, but then it's having the emotional calmness to let that profit run, right? Because initially when you get into the trade, what are you thinking? I hope I don't have a loss. Then when you get into the trade and it actually starts to make a really nice profit, now you're saying, I'm fearful of losing the profit. So you want to get out fast, right? So well, maybe I should get out now, right? Because I think it's going to turn around and I'm going to lose this profit. And and there's a bulk of your trades. I guarantee you, the bulk of the trades when you do that, it's like, oh, I'm fearful of losing this profit now. And you get out, and that profit, which was whatever, maybe it was 100% return on your trade using options, eventually runs on to 400 and 500% return, right? A couple of weeks later, and you're like, oh man, if I just held on to that thing, right? And this is the thing for me, from the bulk of my trade, the how I've done well over the years is that there's a bulk, right? There's a bulk of all the trades that I take that I'm very, very fortunate to actually see these markets have a really, really, really big move to the upside. Or obviously the downside, right? What I mean by that is just an increase in your account. And this is a big thing that I was actually saying with and this goes back to it's like we want to make money from trading, right? But the whole thing about trading is that it's the reason why trading is so difficult and so hard for most people is, and it was hard for me for a long time. As I said before, guys, I've been trading for 20 years now. And again, if you want more of a 20-year shortcut, join my webinar, guys, first link in the description, and I'll teach you all the details to, I guess, the things that's really helped me, okay? That's the reason why I walk through the 3 secrets and my number 1 trading pattern and so on and so forth, right? So the whole thing about that, guys, is that, if you think about, trading in itself, right? So trading in itself, and as I was saying to my mate, on the phone, yesterday when we were swimming on Darling Harbour, maybe with the sharks, right? But we were swimming at Darling Harbour, and it's the whole thing about that, guys, is that I was saying to him that, and same thing for you guys. We don't need a lot of trades, okay? We don't need a lot of trades. And that's the same thing for me. I want to be holding off, waiting for those good quality trades. Now, it doesn't mean just because you get into a good quality trade doesn't mean it's going to be a good profit, but it's going to give you the best chance of doing really well, right? And yes, you're going to have your losses, and just knowing that up front. And this is the big thing with my mate yesterday when I was swimming with him. He was saying that he's having a hard time actually taking those losses. And I said to him, but you got to understand the game you're part of, right? The game you're part of. I said, even the really most successful people on the planet have trades wrong. I said, if you look like a Paul Tudor Jones, who is one of the top 10 financial traders on the planet, he knows he's wrong, right? Some of the times. And it's just having that ability to cut your losses short and let your wins run. And when I do say that, but then again, I say cut your losses short and let your wins run, right? You see what I'm saying here, guys? There's a couple of different major components of why trading is so difficult for most people. Firstly, it's the focusing of one simple pattern, and we know that's the foundation of why most people don't get ahead, right? Because they're focusing on, oh, this is a head and shoulder setup, or this is a YouTube setup, or this is a divergence setup, or this is a head and shoulder setup, or this is a flag setup, or you see what I'm saying? And then you're trading 7 different systems, and no wonder you're confused, and you're going backwards, and you're trading a lot, and and all this sort of stuff. Now, that's the first thing, right? Then the second sort of thing we got to overcome and start to learn about trading is what? Is having losses is okay, or is having losses actually just is part of the actual process. Like that's the game we're part of. We're going to have some losses. But unfortunately, because we're now going back to step number one, where we're loading up too much money on one trade to try to make a lot of money on that one trade, and it does become the loss. Now we don't want to take that loss because we're actually trying to make a lot of money, and we don't want to take that loss, right? And it may be just one of those trades that is a loss, and whatever. And then what ends up happening? We end up going backwards big time, right? We end up going backwards big time because of, we just didn't want to take that loss. It's like, oh, I don't want to take that loss, and it's like, oh man, right? So we try. I'm gonna put 80% of my trading account on this one trade. This is a really amazing setup, and I'm gonna get in. And when it's time to get out, maybe for a loss, you're like, oh man, I don't want to get out for a loss, right? No way, no. This is, and you don't want to be wrong, right? It's like, because you're like, oh, if I get out and I have a losing trade, then I was wrong. Right? And so you do that there. And the thing I talk about is like, I know one of my clients right now, one of my private clients, when it comes down to, he's been long, like, and I've been talking to him, and it's like, people just do what they do, right? People just do what they do. But he's been long from around about 41 on SQQQQ, right? It's just been long. And even though there was times for him to take a small loss, he hasn't, and he's been holding on and holding on and holding on and holding on. And he's still having more and more and more of a loss. This thing is just deteriorating. And again, and the whole purpose of me bringing this up here is not to slander my private client, because that's the reason why he came to me, because now, and he is getting the right help, and he is starting to become on the right path to becoming really good in the markets, right? So he is on that right path. So I'm not going to slander him. That's what I'm not there as a coach to do that. But I am here to sort of show you guys that if he got into around about the 41 level here, and then now he's still holding now on the long side on this SQQ because he thought the stock market was going to crash. Again, if you trade on what you think, right? So I think this is a good idea, right? For me personally, guys, you've been watching my updates for the last couple of weeks. What I've been saying, I think the market's going to have a correction. I think the market's going to have a pullback. If I traded on that, I'll be losing a lot of money right now. In fact, I just trade on my system, and then I'm making money, right? I'm doing really well. It's actually, February's been an incredible month for me, really amazing month. And February always seems to be a really good month for me. We tend to get really big moves, and then we start to go through a bit of a quiet period for a while. So February is always a good month for me. And even last year there was two trades that did 400-500% return. We're using options in February last year. So, and this year using options on the trade that I'm in right now seems to be doing quite well as well too. So anyway, the purpose of me bringing this up here again, guys, for you is like, guess what? The purpose of me saying this is that, I want you to say, you know what, if we are trying to be too egotistical on not having a loss, I don't want to have a loss because if I have a loss, I'm going to be wrong. Well, then guess what happens? Guess what happens there? Then we start to go down this path of, oh man, and then what ends up happening is that instead of having a small loss, if you've got a $5,000 trading account, even if you had a $5,000, your entire position on here, and then now you get out for a 10% loss, right? What is that? What's that? $500 profit. So now your account is down $500. But you don't, right? Instead of cut your losses short, because that's the nature of the beast, right? That's something that's a lesson to learn in itself, right? That's the reason why trading's so hard. It's like, what system do you follow on? You got 1,000 different systems, 1,000 different entry points. That's the foundations. Then they start to overlay it of understanding of just how this machine works when it comes down to, okay, I'm gonna have losses. Like, this is just part of the parcel, and the trade I'm getting into right now. I always tell all my clients, right? Because I trade with my clients every day. And I'm telling them, like, traders, this trade I'm getting into right now can be a losing trade. We must understand that. And if it's not, it's a good winner, then fantastic. If it's a losing trade, we cut it short, right? And all my private clients that are with me, they know that. Like, I'm in a trade, and if I'm in it for a day or two and it's not working, I cut my losses on. Bam, 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 I'm out fast, right? Why? Because just like this trade here, if you're in a $5,000 trade and you now become a 10% loss, a $500 loss, and if you did your entire account, well, then you're like, then cool, I've now got 4,500. I can come back and I can put another trade on, and I can fight another day, right? But instead what ends up happening, your actual ego in the markets of not wanting to take a loss, then guess what happens, right? We actually then now that $5,000 trade turns into, instead of 10% loss, turns into what? Turns into a 70%, almost 75% loss on your account. And now you're just like, oh man, why not? You know, and then you go down this path, right? So that's why for you guys, like for trading, and that's where traders, like, you need some sort of coach behind you, right? Because just to guide you through this process of guide you through like what I'm talking about here, right? And that's the reason why, like with my coaching, I'm always with my clients all the time, and in some cases every single day, and the market's open, because I want them just to continue get them better with focusing on one good setup, focusing on good entry points, focusing on, you know, these fundamentals of okay, sometimes we're gonna have losses and we're gonna get out fast, and we're not gonna hold on to these things. And because I always believe that when you get into losses, the market gives you a good chance. I've always found that myself. Whenever I get into a losing trade, I can get out with maybe a 20 or 30% loss, especially using options. 20 or 30% loss. Very rarely will I have a 50% loss. But if it works for me, then, you know, you can start to pick up 100%, 200%, you know, return, sometimes more. And before you know it, you start to have those odds, right? You could be 50-50 right if you're having 20, 30% losses with the options, right? And then, you know, 100%, 200%, you know, you see what I'm saying there, right? That's how the game sort of works from there. And so that's actually the second level there, is obviously having losing trades, right? And I'll talk about that with one of my clients who is in SQQ right now, my mate yesterday on the boat who's having problems taking losses. It's just the nature of the beast. It's just what we actually do here, right? So the step number one is the foundations of getting good at focusing on some sort of one pattern that you're confident in. What is that one pattern that you're truly confident in? And then understanding the stop loss side of things. Now, and so traders, I'm gonna keep sort of pushing this point through here, or I'm gonna sort of go to another level now. Now the next level is now having the emotional stability to let your profits run and not get emotional about, fearful of now losing the profit. You see the reason why trading is so hard for most people, right? Over the last 20 years, guys, I've had to understand this process that I'm talking about right now. It's like, wow, this is something that has really been tough for me to understand, of everything I'm talking about, from, okay, then what is a really good setup, but then when I do get into a good trade, when it comes to stop losses, what do I expect, and how do I expect, and how do I take for when it comes to stop losses, and how do I cut my losses short, you know? And then when there's a really good trade, how do I know it's actually a good trade, and how do I actually maximize those profits, and all that sort of stuff in there as well too. It's like there's a lot of things that goes into these things called trading, right? And I think one of the reasons why most people find it hard with trading, and I did for so many years, again guys, 20 years deep in this markets here, and you'll find more about my actual story in that first link in the description there on the webinar. But the whole thing about this is that, you know, I over the last 20 years, I've gone through some shit basically in these markets, and really trying to, again, so many times, guys, I felt like quitting these markets. I just felt like giving up. I'm like, oh man, I feel like giving up on this thing, because it was just tough. It was difficult, you know, but I'm very, very grateful that I didn't. I just kept coming back, and then slowly over the last 20 years, things have started to fall into place because I just didn't quit. Even though I was pulling my hair out and going grey and losing sleep, and, you know, literally sometimes going to bed in tears, because I just like, man, I really want this, man. I remember many times I went to bed just in tears, because I lost a lot of money and I was over trading, and I really wanted to do it, right? And it was very, very, very difficult. But because I didn't quit, things started to slowly click into place for me. And now I just focus on one type of a main setup that I'm trading, but then also understand the processes of what I've talked about today when it comes to stop losses, what the nature of the beast is you're actually getting involved with when it comes to understanding the stop loss part of it, how to actually cut your losses short, the emotional side of things of letting your profits run and not being scared of losing out on your profits, you know, and all that sort of stuff there, guys, that I do believe that's the part of the process there. So anyway, traders, that's it for me today. I just wanted to give you guys a bit of an update through there as well too, and a bit of a story of my mate. And the reason why I wanted to bring my mate up is because I wanted to share with you that I think with my mate, there's two big things here, right? He's thinking that, oh, I need a lot of trading patterns so I can get a lot of trades. And then, which is a big wrong thinking. If you've been trading the markets for a long time, or maybe more than 2 or 3 years, you would know that, hey, that's probably not the way to go, right? Because then you're over trading, you're making a lot of mistakes, you're getting in, you're getting out. It's like, oh my goodness, and and then obviously the big story for my mate as well too is that he has problems. Like he may go green, as in like he may make some profits in these trades, but then he has this one big red, and that one big red is that he just doesn't want to. He wants to keep making profits, but he doesn't want to end up having a loss. And when he does have a loss, he doesn't take it, and then that loss ends up becoming a big loss in there. So hope this helped you out there today, traders, and have an amazing week ahead.